Hello, everyone. This is Samrat Kishor, and I welcome you all to the Baseline Show. We do this Baseline Show every week, every Wednesday at noontime EST. Today's Baseline Show is office hours, so we're going to be keeping the discussion pretty free rolling, and we'll also answer any questions from the community members. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, learn a bit more about Baseline Protocol by visiting
North
baseline-protocol.org.
one of only 11 states yet to pass Medicaid.
And was it your side? Whose side was it? Anyway, so
That was
visit
Mark's.
baseline-protocol.org and subscribe to this channel. We keep making announcements pretty often, and also do this show every week. Follow us on Twitter as well. So that's it from our side, and we do welcome all community members. We're pretty active on Slack channel as well. So go to the Baseline website, and you will see a Get Involved section. So that is where you can find all the relevant links and the weekly meetings, which happen for the various working groups. So on the show today, we have our beloved baseliners. I think most of us come to the show almost every week. Welcome, Mark, Keith, Yoav, and Ryan. So yeah, today's office hours. Let's just talk about what we're all working on. I have, I've been working on a very intense intense project, absolutely cut off from baseline for the past week or so. So yeah, I don't have any updates on baseline world. But yeah, over maybe any one of you would like to talk about what you're working on and excited about, and maybe what we'll do is we'll come to Ryan a bit later because he's so charged up and just concluded the Provide Web3 webinar. So we're going to listen from him what were the major announcements made today. But before that, we could go to our other baseliners. Mark Haddle, do you want to talk about something? Maybe East Denver or anything
As
coming
far
up?
as what we're, well, no, I'm actually not going to be attending East Denver this year. Way too much going on over there, and we've got it pretty much well covered by other members of the team. So I am not going to make it. I got to go last August, so I guess Denver will be fine without me there this time. So, but no, I mean, it's really, we're starting to look at a lot more ways of how you articulate the baseline protocol to both the technical and the non-technical domains. And we're starting to get a lot more attention paid more toward the technical domains as far as what can this do for you? How can it, make your life easier, make your job suck less, it helps you make money, save money, or stay out of trouble. That's really what we wanted. And a lot of the people, they really don't care what's going on, with the plumbing. They're like, okay, that's really cool, and I'm glad you have it fleshed out, but I'm not really looking at this with rapt attention. I want to know, hey, how can this make me, how can I put this in my regular business process environment and reap the benefits from it? So, and we're starting to really drill deep down into a lot of these, I would say, industry domains that really can benefit from this type of secure multi-party synchronization. And I say, and just stop there. I mean, can you imagine if all of your different apps, your processes, your platforms were synchronized? Just that simple little thing. Do you know what the ripple effects of that would be? I mean, your back office reconciliation is severely curtailed. Your cycle times are taken down to mere seconds. And we want to stick with that at first, because then a lot of people say, oh, well, then we can do secure multi-party computation, or we can really start to verify the integrity of people that are using pulling and scrubbing data from disparate sources for ingest into an AI ML engine. How do they know they're having the best data to go ahead and get the proper insights out of? So a lot of that's being taken care of. You look at a lot of different industry environments that really are impacted by really, two or more parties that are separated by these opaque barriers that, because of the nature of the data that they need to share, either because of data privacy or just competitive position or corporate policy, we're not sharing this type of stuff. But they still need to collaborate. So they have to go through these manual processes and these workarounds and these hacks, just to be able to not run outside of that data privacy or that corporate policy. So, what are some of the industries that, to where that's a persistent problem? I mean, financial services and banking, of course, it gets a lot of attention. Clinical trials. You're hearing a lot more about decentralized clinical trials right now, or at least I am. And so, and because those have always been a challenge, because you've got to constantly recruit new patients or people to participate, and at the same time, some of these trials require a lot of commitment from these patients. We need you to come in, maybe check an infusion. We need to go ahead and take your vitals. We have to then give you the investigative drug or a placebo, one of those. And just doing that over, say a year's time, keeping the patient engaged is a pretty tall order. And the best thing you can do is at least, keep some type of pulse on that. And that generates a lot of data that, cannot be shared because it's bound by HIPAA and PHI. But also, you don't want to let your competitors know the kind of stuff that you're working on. You want to really keep this, under that veil of privacy. So, having that type of, environment to where you can prove that all of the stakeholders are synchronized, working off the same data set, goes a really long way. And a lot of people say, well, what's exciting about that? And I'm like, nothing. But hey, can you imagine working within that environment versus what you're working in right now? Because, some of you, I see that you need 2 gin and tonics just to unclench your jaws at the end of the day. Hey, wouldn't you like to not have to do that? So
I think the COVID-19 vaccination program was like the largest decentralized testing program, right?
Well, that, and then of course, it at least, got a lot of traction done when it came to identity. Because it got more people thinking about it. And a lot of people saying, hey, you're going to have a vaccine passport, that you're going to put on your phone. Hey, could I take a screenshot and, give it to my buddy who, doesn't want to get the vax, and he can masquerade as me just to go ahead and go and buy a slice of pizza? We want to make sure that type of stuff, because it defeats the purpose. So, but there was a lot of, that got a lot of light shined onto us right now. And, really, as far as, the whole idea when it comes to tokenization, hey, that, we can basically turn, whether it is, an asset, a piece of artwork as everybody's doing it. But I was like, it can even be a moment in time, or it can be a proof of a credential or something. And that, tokenizing it gives it singularity and permanence. So we know there's only one, and it's, can't be altered. So this allows that you can actually exchange it, as a digital asset, maybe even sell it if you wanted to, depending on what it is. But, tokenization really started to get on a lot of people's minds right now. And, everybody's like, it's too expensive. And I'm like, that's to be expected. Give it a little bit of time. The cost will come down as far as the gas and stuff. But a lot of people say that, crypto and blockchain are dead. I don't think you've been paying close enough attention.
It has been dead so many times.
Yeah. Everybody's trying to dig blockchain's grave for, gosh, I've been in it for 8 years now. And, I remember in 2017, like going, oh, this isn't going to go anywhere. Well, here we are. And I don't think anybody would say that the blockchain or crypto industry is anything but dead, anything resembling dead. So
yeah, true that. And yeah, you pointed to some really interesting use cases of multi-party workflows in general, and of course use cases for baseline. That also points to some of the research work that Mark Rimza has been leading. So we could probably give a little bit of data on that as well. Mark, do you want to go ahead and share something with the community?
Yeah, sure. So we've been working on the Blip 1 effort, and in the core devs call last week, we actually closed out Blip 1. So Blip 1 has finally sunsetted. The Blip 1 work group originally set out to determine why you would need anchoring or zero knowledge proofs at different steps of a workflow. Um, what factors would play into maybe not needing them. And so we've officially sunset that blip, and we've transitioned all of the work and materials for supply chain requirements and information on what influences these decisions to anchor something or create a zero knowledge proof at the end of a work step or a process. All that's been shifted over into a new blip. I think it's called Blip 14. It's called International Supply Chain Showcase or International Supply Chain Demo. And the what this blip is focusing on now is taking all these concepts that we've discussed in blip 1 and turning it into a simplified demonstration of what baseline is. And what baseline is zero trust multi-party coordination under zero knowledge. So put very simply, what we're doing is we're using zero trust principles, and then we are privatizing the exchange of sensitive data that occurs between interactions within a zero trust environment, which means we're doing this zero trust coordination, and then we're privatizing it. We're doing it under zero knowledge. So what we're trying to do with this blip here is to take these supply chain requirements, specifically this user flow, this journey, and we're trying to write out a list of user stories that encapsulate all of the documents that are being exchanged within this process, how you can exchange all these documents in a zero trust and privacy preserving way, and actually drilling down into the specific technical ways that we're doing this, how we're using VCs to represent the documents, how we're writing zero knowledge proofs to prove correctness of documents or whatever business logic we need to prove that feeds into a different step, and then specifically what the actual circuits look like. What are the private inputs? What are the public inputs? What do we specifically need to keep private when we're proving correctness of these documents, and then taking attributes of these documents and moving them downstream for the next actor who needs to accomplish their workflow. So what I'm hoping, or at least the work group is hoping for this blip, is to provide a very simple demonstration of what a zero trust multi-party coordination, or rather a zero trust supply chain under zero knowledge, what that looks like, and how we can create a demonstration with it. So we have another meeting coming up tomorrow, actually, and in the last meeting we discussed what the demo should actually look like. I think we arrived at the decision to use batteries as the item that we are going to be moving around in this international supply chain. And so we have some members working on the story of what we want this demonstration to communicate. And myself and others like Andreas or Keith or Yoav are working on nailing down some of the technical requirements that could be used to build out a simple demonstration. And the idea here is that once BRI3 is completed, we could use BRI3 as like the central instance that's managing all of these interactions on the backside of this demonstration, to give people a very clear idea of what a zero trust supply chain under zero knowledge looks like, some of the basic requirements of how you could build something like this, and then just provide the community with more resources on fully understanding what this actually means from top to bottom, instead of large full production scale implementations or very low level requirements. We want to create some resources that exist in the middle that sort of tie these two pieces together and allow people to push this standard and create more implementations and drive all of this forward. So
Yeah,
I
that
think
would be a
that's a
great
full
on
update
ramp.
there.
Yeah, that would be a fantastic on ramp. When we wedge in these solutions and sort of get in a digestible way, right, for new software to integrate. That is amazing work, Mark. Thank you very much for that. Keith, Yoav, if you want to go ahead with any updates from your sides.
Life is good. That's my update.
Awesome.
Just coding most of the time. But yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean,
nothing too
another
detailed to share.
another update we could give at least on behalf of our team, Keith, Yov, and I, and Sonal, is that we're all going to be attending ETH Denver. So we're actually going to have a specific Mesh R&D event, and although it'll be under the banner of Mesh, our team focuses on multi-party, zero trust, zero knowledge processes. So Baseline fits underneath that umbrella. So you can come see us in Denver. You can talk about Baseline. You can talk about zero trust, zero knowledge, everything under the sun. See what we're doing to implement some of those solutions, and how we're specifically working towards moving this standard forward also.
Yeah, and shout out to the other I think other Mesh R&D teams will be there. I'm not sure the exact list, but so you can also check out what else Mesh is up to and talk to other Mesh teams, Continuous Mesh.
So I'm sure it is published on a blog somewhere on the Mesh website. Super.
I don't know if there's a blog about it on the Mesh website, but you heard it here first. We're going to be there in Denver.
Awesome. This is good to know. And yeah, all the best, guys. I hope on the next show you will have some updates for us, for the community. Just share your experience. How was it like? What was the response? How Baseline is received for the masters so far? Excellent. So I see Jack Lee as well. Welcome, Jack. So yeah, now I think the time is right that we bring about our friends from Provide and maybe Ryan and Jack. Can walk us through a bit about what are the major announcements you made on the Provide webinar and yeah, share with the community.
Everyone who joined the webinar earlier today, and say hello to Jack as well. Jack, how about we do a speed run of the webinar of just a few highlights? You want to touch on a few, Jack?
Yeah, sure. And certainly the intention here was just to join today. It wasn't necessarily to go into all our highlights, but if there's time for that, then that's fantastic. Yeah, we're certainly down to do so. Excited about our all the updates and things that we've been working on, as with this whole community and ecosystem here. Obviously, everyone knows quite well that the technology of which that we're working on here is really damn advanced, and takes some time for enterprise users, developers, business users to really get a good understanding around how to actually leverage this internally into their business, and the actual values of which that we're solving for here. And we've been heads down on our side, continuously focused on getting the production deployment of this off the ground with Bank United, and they're actually interacting with Software One and looking to onboard many of their other managed service providers that they work with, such as what we're excited about is the potentiality of see the network effect expand to those type of organizations like Software One, like we mentioned, Fiserv, Fujitsu, SMX. So some really large conglomerates of which are managed service providers that interact with Bank United and provide support to the bank today. Bank United is a really well-known bank just from their perspective, as far as just being as innovative as they are. And we're excited to start seeing the network effect finally take hold here. And yeah, Ryan, I could pause there and maybe you can take it away, and then I can dig in a little bit.
Yeah. Why don't I share my screen, and we'll, like I said, speed run the webinar slides on a few highlights, and we can discuss as a group here too. So yeah, what we did in 45 minutes or an hour, we'll do in like 10 here, on just a couple things here. I wanted to really go to this slide first. And I think this is of interest in the Baseline community of what is composable zero knowledge, right? So we talk a lot about the benefits of zero knowledge as, a privacy preserving mechanism, gives you a lot of precision. I really loved how Mark was just saying how the singularity of this data. We use the term axiomatic, right? We kind of rebranded our baseline implementation to Axiom just recently. Getting to the public mainnet and making it a painless process, right? So for the developers that want to use zero knowledge, baseline is such a great starting point, because rather than this developer who may have some supply chain knowledge, they don't have to master all the intricacies of zero knowledge to be able to use it, right? So that's a bit of our POV on composable zero knowledge, right? And shuttle being part of that, but also the baseline protocol underlying that too. Had a number of these other updates regarding Pro UBC. I won't beat them all to death, just right here, because I think the most compelling one to talk about today is Provide Eco, enterprise carbon offsetting. And I can share a few remarks here too as well. I know a number of folks on this call might be familiar with ClimaDAO as this digital carbon marketplace. Essentially what we're doing with Provide Eco is introducing the enterprise systems like SAP or ServiceNow. Particularly, we've developed a lot with SAP to incorporate the supply chain data, the manufacturing data, the finance data as a demand driver into the digital carbon marketplace. Jack, did you want to share a couple other remarks there too?
Sorry about that, I was muted. Thank you for that, Ryan.
Yeah.
As I mentioned in our webinar before, to our knowledge, this is the first application of zero knowledge and programmatic carbon offsetting in the Ethereum ecosystem, integrated with ERP, CRM, and traditional enterprise systems. That's certainly a big announcement to make. That's certainly a big stake to put in the ground. But as Ryan had mentioned, there's been a lot of focus within enterprises, the governments today around the environmental impact that blockchains put on the environment itself. And that has been an interesting level of skepticism around why to adopt this type of technology. And some, you've even seen some foreign officials or US officials even like using that as kind of a benchmark for not adopting these type of systems, or as a primary reason for not adopting these systems at all. And as Ethereum has moved from proof of work to proof of stake, and the exceptional accomplishment that was in the coordination to do that, we all understand the economic and sustainability benefits that will ultimately provide as the Ethereum ecosystem and network continues to grow, and more transactions and business utilization is put onto the network. And Ryan, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah.
Continue
yeah.
on.
And because when you talk about the topics of sustainability, the reason why it caused such hesitation to these enterprises is because they view it actually as one of the most urgent business priorities they have, right? And when you're the CIO or CTO and you're looking through all of these different business transformation opportunities, you have a lot coming at you. You have your conventional business transformation stuff. You have AI. You have cloud and blockchain. And how do you shuffle that all together? And what we're really excited with Provide Eco is a way to position ourselves as a company to the front of the line, right? In particular. Regarding this issue. And of course, carbon offsets are not a perfect solution to addressing the climate impact of enterprises. But it's a remarkable thing that, as companies have this impact to the environment, that they can leverage the digital carbon marketplace to have a direct impact across these economies that benefit from tokenized carbon.
And you've been hearing like the concepts of like regenerative finance within the Web3 landscape, but more prominently, I would say, within the Ethereum ecosystem. And there's been a number of initiatives to continue to drive that narrative. And what we're really excited about here with that within Provide and within this baseline ecosystem is the opportunity to utilize this initiative as a driver of demonstrating how the Ethereum ecosystem is actually driving atomic carbon offsets, and actually the offsets here that and the production of these carbon offsets that can actually truly make a betterment to society today and to the actual amount of consumption that enterprises are putting into the world today, and to be able to truly offset that in a more transparent and open way, which we're incredibly excited about.
I see Andreas raised a hand for a question.
Yes, I love generative finance. Another bullshit bingo Web3 word. It's like makes me. I
Here
just
comes the
threw up.
firework.
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. No, but a serious question. I mean, I just have to go there. Sorry. This is but a serious question. So this is just for reporting out carbon offsets in zero knowledge, or are those actually carbon offset receipts that are supposed to be tradable?
Right. So this is where you have to really focus in on the capabilities of ClimaDAO digital carbon. And if I jump back to the characteristics of digital carbon, one thing that we are really heavily positioning to the enterprise is actual carbon retirements, right? So when you're trading tokenized carbon, yes, it's tradable, but I think the objective for these enterprises is actually carbon retirements, because such an issue with the double counting of offsets comes from it's still being tradable, right? Now, if you introduce the carbon retirement and that tokenized carbon that digital carbon is no longer tradable, we've really mitigated the chances of this double counting of this particular use of carbon, right? So as I remarked, offsets, there are definitely critiques of carbon offsets that are out there, but in many ways the fact that it's brought on chain as a real world asset introduces some unique aspects of transparency to improve the quality of that data.
Okay.
And so
can you actually answer my question?
So
it's a very simple question. It's like for reporting or trading or both. What is it?
Yeah. So you're retiring carbon, right? So you interact with the Klima carbon retirement.
So you're reporting out how much carbon you're retiring. So it's reporting.
Yes.
Correct. So this is where we can actually dig in a little bit further, right?
I don't stop. Not my question. We're getting to that in a second. Okay. It's like are you creating it, recording it, and then burning the token? So it's no longer tradable. It's right. Registered but not tradable. Or is there a period in which it is tradable?
So I think your question is directed more of how the mechanics of Klima as a carbon marketplace work. Is that correct?
Yes, because it has significant ramifications as to what actually needs to be included and what actually needs to be done on the reporting side. Once you are or if there is a window of tradability, because then it suddenly is something that falls under financial regulatory purview, and then a whole bunch of shit is coming in that needs to be included, that doesn't have to be included if it's merely, hey, by the way, here they are and they're burned. It's like, so it's just FYI.
It is a little more involved than just burning the token. And this, Samrat, I think it would be a really great episode in the future to actually bring Klima on to talk about more about the carbon retirement aggregate, because Andreas
We should do that.
brings up a really good concern, which is it's in concept it's just a buy and burn, but there is a lot more going on within the smart contract. And these carbon registries that Klima works with, say Toucan, Dovu, C3, they work really hard to make sure that the quality of the data regarding the carbon offset that's being offered in the marketplace is good, right? So yes, there is a particular difference between retiring the carbon versus trading it. And
Right.
what we're specifically doing with Provide Eco is we're pushing for carbon retirements, not trading.
Okay. So that's perfectly fine and fair. That's what I'm sorry
Yeah.
for being ultra annoying, but
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
like it's
That's
no. The nuance is important, because that
Yes.
it can be the difference between being financially successful and going to jail. So it's like and I'm actually not kidding. It's like there are people that are right now or have been sentenced to multi-year prison sentences because they didn't do the right thing. They were
Yeah.
not compliant. So and were fraudulent, because
Yeah.
again, if you don't have the right compliance structure around this, your fraud is not necessarily on the reporting side, but just on the financial engineering side is wide open. And that's really a problem. And that is where, again, multi-party zero trust coordination or multi-party coordination in zero trust and under zero knowledge becomes really critical.
Yeah.
Right? Because you need those compliance proofs that need to be accompanying these things if they are supposed to connect things. Right. So it's like that's really critical, because then you need to have financial fiduciaries. They need to be either in the middle, unless the reporting entity has those licenses and where the proper KYB and AML has been done, right? Right.
Yeah.
It's your and the hammer is coming down. So unless you're building it in from the ground up, you're gonna be screwed.
Oh, I don't think we're screwed.
I don't say we. It's a you as in not you personally. It's like whoever touches these financial instruments are gonna be in trouble.
Yeah. So to think about the aspect of zero knowledge in this case, right, is if you can coordinate with those standards bodies, the regulators, through the life cycle of these processes of either buying the token or offering the token, that can actually really help in terms of having that zero knowledge verification that standards body or regulator as a participant in that workflow approved of your use actually improves the regulatory compliance there. So of course that's our commitment as well, is to make sure it's a overall very regulatory compliant type of interface. And there are some other upgrades coming actually to the ClimaDAO retirement aggregator, specific to that. And wonderful partnership. And really briefly is this idea, think about this business data. So if we look at this aggregation of carbon and how we represent it under zero knowledge, right? So your atomic offset, this would still reside within your enterprise system, but you could marshal that into a ZK proof, right? That's plays this role of scope 3 reporting and verification thereafter, right? And then that attributes something to how is this carbon retirement actually used? How is it allocated in some way? So
Yeah,
yeah, that's all.
what is carbon retirement in this context? Is it trapped? Is it offset by, is there X created and X offset by creating, planting trees, or what's the
Yeah, there's
what's the definition of like carbon retirement, and how are these because retirement means offsetting something, right?
Yeah, so there's different carbon tokens have different characteristics, whether they're forestry based, nature based, science based. Again, this is a great topic to bring Klima on for these same things, because if you look at enterprises, they have a preference for science based targets, right? However, the larger portion of carbon offsets that are available today are the forestry based ones, and those are the ones that are literally people doing reforestation in places like the Amazon, across Africa. You're still a worthy, noble investment to make, but that does reflect in the pricing of it, because I think the science-based ones are a little higher priced than nature ones. And there's different standard bodies. I mean, Vera is the largest one in particular, and yeah, there's a lot to say about the standards bodies regarding carbon both on and off chain, right? Because the reputation problem with carbon offsets still exists off chain at some times as well. Cool.
No.
Yeah,
No.
like
Great stuff.
Thank you,
a quick plug
Andreas.
here for onset number 2. So Klima has been doing these webinar series. I'll be presenting there to sharing more about showing a demo of Provide Eco there. And there'll be several other participants there, both from Star CB and Eco Registry. And these are the folks that work boots on the ground, with different carbon offsetting projects, right? And they can speak to a lot of the same issues that Andreas was digging into, of like, how is this actually going to work in a compliant way, right? So there's some really remarkable stories going on of folks, doing that work. So be sure to check that out. That's March 7th at 4 p.m. UTC. I'll drop a link here in this chat and on our YouTube chat here. So yeah. Other than that,
this wasn't only just like a pet project, really. This stemmed from actually some demand from 2 different large enterprise ecosystems that we've been working with, outside of ones that have been mentioned in the past around the baseline protocol community. So, more to come there, but just want to mention, like, this turns to be very synergistic with what we're seeking to build here at Provide, and the mission that we're trying to drive. But this really did stem from demand that we were gaining from actually some of the enterprises and those ecosystems that we're interacting with. So it would be fantastic to see us be able to facilitate this, these ESG and sustainability type metrics and benefits to the baseline ecosystem and the greater Ethereum ecosystem. Surely.
Cool. Jack, did we have other things from webinar we wanted to cover quick at all? There's this roadmap of different things going on in terms of what's to come. Of course, Provide Payments is a key part of that Provide Eco product, so that the enterprise doesn't have to hold stablecoins natively to be able to use the carbon aggregator. But a number of platform level things, from the PRVD network Genesis coming very soon this year, and just other updates to the capabilities more broadly. So yeah, that's a few of those things there. So Jack, did you have anything you wanted to add? Reflecting on our webinar earlier today.
No, if anyone's got any questions or any feedback for us, we're love it. Certainly appreciate it. We really do intend that this initiative is in the best interest of, humanity, and actually like bringing value to what we're all cultivating here. Certainly zero knowledge and the cryptography benefits and the transparent systems and things of that effect are really important. But, as we can start to bring forth some of these larger other worldly initiatives to what we're doing, I think it's a lot to stand behind. It gets us pretty fired up.
Super. And there's tons of money to be made in this, by the way. Awesome.
Yeah.
So Andreas, before you joined, we were just going around and listening from people what they're working on. So do you want to talk about anything that is exciting for you right now?
The layer 2 standards working group is continuing. We having we proposed to the PGB the canonical token list to be moved to draft standard, and the EVM-based address aliasing standard to become a release, the draft of that to become a release, and then once that's done, also to move that into full draft. EIPs are coming for those two. So that's important. So listing, provide friends, very important. Standardized listing structures. If you're talking about tokens and where they come from, especially when they are on layer 2s, not on, it's like not on the origin chain. So that's that. What else? Oh yeah, so
standardized, what was that again?
Canonical token lists. It's like you can yeah, it's in the EA Oasis repo under L2. What else? So working on getting a working with the EF to find people to create an open source education series around ZK technology for experienced developers, trying to close the knowledge gap there that exists. So this initiative is going to be how within the Ethereum Foundation, and they're in the privacy and scalability explorations group. So anybody who if you think you are an educator or interested in ZK and want to create educational material around that in a very structured way, reach out. Also working on pulling something together around creating an open source enterprise grade ZK EVM stack. That is also critical. Again,
I'd like to nominate Ryan for the education.
I mean, I like all these things it's music to my ears on JS.
No, but no, but that means you need to do that full time, not on the side.
Yeah, I mean, I'm spread pretty thin, but I'll help out where I can.
I didn't know it was a full time.
No. This is full time. This is like you need to get this is boots on the ground, get shit done, as quickly as possible.
Sure.
So the same thing is like again trying to get open source enterprise grade ZK EVM stack. That's also really really important, both from an enterprise side, because that's where you want to that's control, and while at the same time being able to use public mainnet on the one hand. On the other hand, new Web3 startups need a leg to stand on without getting sawed off by DOJ, or in the EU with MiCA. which was adopted last October. Enforcement action is gearing up as well in the EU. So the sharks are not only circling, but they're taking huge chunks out of the ecosystem in a very coordinated fashion. So it's like haste is to be made. Working on, it's like obviously continuing with the baseline standard, working the TSC there, working on the roadmap, and then implementing the roadmap, and working with a few other startups. One very interesting one is around on-chain compliance in zero knowledge. So have like compliant tokens, for example, and then fully compliant stack. So again, multi-party coordination in zero trust and under zero knowledge is sort of like the theme that I'm currently working on in various roles across the ecosystem.
And that's the thing that nobody wants to talk about it because it's boring and it doesn't have any wow factor. And but yeah, it's so
I tell everybody, it's like, look, my primary job is keeping you out of jail.
Yeah.
It's you touch tokens, and there's a
Keeping
significant
who out of jail? Is it us or you? Who are you keeping out of jail?
Keeping you guys out of jail.
Us out of jail. Okay.
Keeping you guys.
I appreciate it. I don't want to go to jail.
No, that's it's like or getting fined, right? So it's like it's fine or jail or right or. So it's not fun right now. I can tell you that there are a lot of people sweating massive bullets right now.
What are they going to jail for? What are you seeing mostly? What's the
it's mostly for fraud. That is being it's and then significant fraud in terms of it's like doing rug pulls, pump and dump schemes, Ponzi schemes that are being even inadvertently. It's like, but I didn't do it, but you did, and then you realize that you made money, you pulled the money out, and at that point that's like felonious. You have some of those people have much bigger problems than just the regulatory enforcement actions. There are really nasty people after them because they lost money in their schemes, and those are the type of people you don't want to play around with, because they get a hold of you, there is no more you. There is no more you. There are a couple of people that are
sleep tight, everybody.
Yeah, it's really, yeah. So that's why I'm saying it's like there are multiple reasons why, if you're trying to do the right thing, and the former Kraken CEO put it right, because enforcement action waited so long, the bad guys crowded out the good guys, and gave everybody a bad name, and that was in large part seemingly intentional.
Well, and at the same time, the signs were there, and anybody that raised a hand to notice was smacked down or told, "Hey, quit being a buzzkill. Come on, everything's fine." And you're like, "Okay, well, now, hey, we were right."
Yeah, I would think, and this is my hope on the regulatory compliance side of things, is when is the Congress, when is the government going to just make these rules absolutely crystal clear, like put it in a PDF document of like, here's 20 pages of the do's and don'ts if you're working in this industry, right? Because what we often still see is in this industry, people who were believing they were doing the right thing. And like you said, the regular crackdown, and it's like, well, how did we know? How did we know that we're like following the right laws and regulations? So hopefully that comes about too. I think that's desired by a number of people, and I think it would make a lot of our lives a lot easier in terms of the work we do here too.
All the laws are there. They're there. They just haven't been fully clarified. It's just, and they haven't been enforced in order for clarification to happen, right? So for example, right, the SEC and the DOJ have been sued for the Tornado Cash sanction listing of smart contracts, and saying smart contracts can't be sanctioned, right? Counter argument is, well, French numbered accounts have been sanctioned, right? Because they were outside of jurisdiction and the individuals were not known, but they knew that it's like illicit transfers happened, and therefore those Swiss numbered bank accounts were sanctioned. So I don't think there are any more, but they were at one point. So saying that, oh, smart contracts can't be on a sanction list, it's like, well, if they walk like a bank and talk like a bank, right, then they're like a bank with and has a Swiss number bank account. You can argue that an ERC-20 contract is a offer, works like a bank, that has registered holdings of individuals with account numbers, and is just programmatically enforced. And then the only question is the individual deploying that smart contract financial fiduciary or not, or because they have discharged, they just deployed it and then didn't care anymore what happened. So again, facts and circumstances, as any good securities lawyer will tell you, uniquely matter. So it's like, I wouldn't bank on saying, oh, well, that was not clarified. No, if you really wanted to look, and if you really thought about it hard, right, there is precedence for that. And there are existing analogies, just with lack of centralized control. So the question is a question of control. When and when are control points relevant and when they are not? So that is something that probably needs to be clarified, but that's why at least in the Anglo-Saxon legal practice, case law is super relevant, whereas in Europe and so forth, it's not so much there. And that's why it took such a long time for MiCA to come out, because they had to get through all the edge cases and didn't say, well, we organically get those edge cases through case law. So I think it was there. It was just a lack of enforcement. So I would call it malicious neglect. Due to lack of understanding on the one hand. On the other hand, there were plum jobs to be had by regulators after leaving the SEC with those highly funded projects. And because it was like, look, they're creating the rope and tying it around their head and standing on building the gallows and doing everything for us. We just need to pull open the trap door at one point.
Why do I have to be so scared of why do I have to be so
Anytime,
scared of the
anytime.
government? Like this is crazy, man. Like
It's not scary. It's like if you're if you play by the
but-
rules and don't fuck with rich people, you're good.
I guess so, yeah. I guess that's the
It's very simple. It's like
Yeah.
it's like you know, don't fuck with the rich people. Right? It's very, very simple. It's like, look, as soon as like, you know, a lot of rich people got into that and celebrities and stuff like that, and it became like noisy, guess what happened? Right? You know, Kim Kardashian got fined a couple $1 million. Does it really matter for Kim Kardashian a couple $1 million? No. She had been fined $200 million based on net worth. Completely different story, right? But that's not how fines are being levied. You know, take an example of, what's it called? Peak Capital, Peak Horizon or Capital, the investment firm of the Church of Latter-day Saints, just got fined 2 different fines, like totaling, I don't know, like 7 million or 11 million dollars for
The hiding the 32 billion assets or something like that.
32
right?
billion or 38 billion in publicly held assets, right? It was and it was a civil case for not reporting, right? So for missing reporting requirements, right? And they because they said the civil case was much easier to prove than a criminal case, right? Which is intentionally maliciously hiding and using the proceeds to influence public policy, right? In an opaque way, which is a crime, right? If you're intentionally avoiding for a malicious purpose, then it becomes criminal behavior. So it's just you know, just fun stuff. And again, if you're the richer you are, the bigger the scam you pull, the less impactful overall your punishment is going to be. The smaller you are, the smaller your crime is, the harder you're going to get punished.
Ryan Leaf, he didn't want to be associated with you talking crap on Latter-day Saints, right? He was
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like the
It's
Mormon
like, it's
church
like,
or
no,
something.
it was just sort of like a non-crypto related enforcement action that is like that just like showcases the non-proportionality, generally speaking, of those actions. All right,
Oh, it
guys.
looks like they're both afraid of the Mormons coming after them. Anyways,
Someone
You know,
Dustin,
it's
This
like,
has been very educative. Thank you, Andreas, for those kind words.
sure. No, it's like it's just
hey, ignore it at your peril. I mean, I know it's not
just ignoring at your peril. Right?
Yeah.
It's like it's like, and it's don't pretend as if it wasn't known and hasn't been out there and saying, oh, this is unclear. It's like, no, if you wanted to look and if you wanted to think, it was there.
Well,
Right?
but just know that if you ever see the word token or tokenization, just think thin legal ice.
Yeah, unless well constructed.
Unless
well constructed.
Yes.
Unless well
right? Isn't that
constructed.
the problem? Some people just aren't thinking. You know, they have
No,
their
I
sights
mean,
set on
yeah.
dollar bills, and then
That's
you
right.
know, later
That's
in
right.
hindsight, they're like, oh,
I just want to enjoy the view. I don't want to have to climb the mountain. That's for the
Yeah,
mental to climb the mountain.
it's and I in this case it is I very much disagree with Gordon Gekko. Greed is not good.
Yeah.
Anybody? Okay, that was a movie.
Oh, no,
quote
that again
that I
who
just
was
aged
also-
myself.
But who also said, hey, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups? I mean, that was Einstein, actually.
That is true.
You know,
That is very true.
so so cool.
Anyway, all right, guys. Gotta hop.
Thank you, everybody.
This has been very good. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone who made it.
Cheers.
See
Hey.
you on the next week's baseline show. Thanks.
Cheers. Bye.